Canadian, we have quite literally the ultimate efficient crossover. What is it, Michael? What car is it today?
I don't know. I think it's a Nero.
It's the 2025 Kia Niro HEV in the SX trim level. So if you're shopping for the Niro Hybrid, this is the top trim level, giving you everything you can get for the Niro, also putting it at its most expensive price point. It's incredibly impressive, and the best part is this vehicle offers so much at such an attractive price point, and the best part is it's extremely efficient, so you're not spending all that money on gas. We're going to do a full in-depth walkthrough covering the exterior, the powertrain, the interior, and of course the technology and safety that comes into this vehicle. And the best part is, because it's a live stream, if you're watching this in real time with us, you can actually ask us questions as we're doing the video. So if I point out a button or a feature of the vehicle and you need more clarification, let us know. We always integrate a brief Q&A period towards the end of this video to make sure you guys are all up to speed on the vehicle. Now, Michael, you ready?
Yes.
All right, we're first going to start off with the exterior. I already mentioned the price point, but just in case, I noticed YouTube certainly starts to cut off the beginning of our videos a bit, and I'm midway through a sentence. The price again is $39,495 Canadian, and that's again for the top trim level of the Nero. So everything below it is going to have a more attractive price point. But nonetheless, we'll first start off with the front end. Let me get the lights on. On the SX model, you're going to be introduced to a full LED headlamp, including fog lights. On the trim levels below, you still have LEDs for your positioning lights and your daytime running lights, but it's not a full LED system. So here you can see just how bright and sharp those lights are. I'll point out the main headlamp first. So of course, located right over here, your daytime running light is going to be this very sharp light here. That is going to be turn amber, I should say, when you do indicate a turn signal or turn on your hazards for the vehicle. So it has a nice glow or flare there. Towards the bottom, here's where you'll find your fog lamps. So of course, introduced on the SX trim level. Also on this vehicle, you'll get a couple more, I guess, premium touches, is the way I like to put it. So you'll notice we got a nice bit of this satin metal throughout the front end here, with a nice gloss black trim here on your front bumper. Also integrated onto the front bumper will be ultrasonic parking sensors. So as you're maneuvering this vehicle in, let's say, a garage or just a tight parking lot, you will get audible feedback inside the cabin to let you know when you're getting too close to something like another car or, let's say, a parking barrier. Super handy to have, and you'll get the front ones on the SX trim level. You also get ones in the back, but I'll show you that after. A couple of the things I'll point out on the front end comes down to the tech on this vehicle, I should say, which also works its way into the safety. So right in the very center, underneath our plate, you'll notice we have this rectangular radar. Now this radar is going to give you not only smart cruise control, but also highway drive assist. Because this vehicle does have integrated Kia navigation, it'll know the speed limit of the road that you're on and make adept changes once the speed limit drops or increases. It's also going to maintain a safe distance from the vehicle ahead of you and bring you right down to a complete stop if you do hit stop and go traffic. Now our lights did shut off. I'll get them back on probably later to show you guys the tail lights. Before I do that, let's talk powertrain. Because this is the hybrid version of the Kia Niro, you can of course expect to see an engine under the hood. The engine itself is a 1.6-liter gasoline direct injection 4-cylinder. So with that 4-cylinder, you get about 103 horsepower, but because it's also a hybrid, we also have the help of an electric motor to supplement some more power and of course more efficiency. So with the electric motor and the regular gasoline engine combined, you can expect 139 horsepower. Yes, sorry, Michael, 139 horsepower, and our transmission is going to be a 6-speed dual clutch transmission. Now, dual clutches can be a little bit scary. You may have heard of them in the Kia Sorento or some of the Hyundai product, but because this vehicle is a hybrid, at very low speeds or crawls, you're actually going to be in EV mode, so you're not slipping that clutch. The vehicle is propelling itself with its EV motor. Towards the side, we'll check out our wheels. These wheels are exclusive to the SX trim level. Beautiful alloys. They have a nice machine finish, and we do get an all-season tire on top of that. Now's the time for me to talk about something a bit controversial in the Niro. So a lot of people seem to forget about this vehicle. Maybe they'll adopt a vehicle like the Kia Seltos with all-wheel drive instead of the Niro. Do you really need all-wheel drive though? Probably not. So the Niro only comes with front-wheel drive, and that's a lot of the critique we hear back. Now, if you are someone who lives in the city and does a lot of your driving kind of within your city or highway, you probably don't need all-wheel drive ever. All-wheel drive is not actually making contact with the terrain. The tires are the only part of your vehicle that is essentially touching the ground. If anything else is touching the ground, go to your mechanic for sure. So winter tires are really the biggest change you can do to make this vehicle perform better in the winter, and that's with any vehicle. You can have an all-wheel drive car and still slide into the ditch. It's not the all-wheel drive system, it's the tire that's gonna help that. So if you are driving this vehicle in Canada, I certainly recommend a winter tire for the wintry months, but you probably are used to that already, right guys? All right, a couple more things I'll point out. For our disc brakes up at the front, they are ventilated, and then you'll get solid disc brakes in the rear as well as a multi-link rear suspension. On the side, we'll have our mirrors, of course. They are power folding on the SX trim level, and we do have our turn signal indicator kind of outwards on it. So usually we have a bit of a line throughout here. It's a funkier shape for the Nero, and that's gonna be an amber light as well. On the flip side, so the actual mirrored portion, you'll notice we do have blind spot detection on this vehicle. So that will, of course, illuminate that icon whenever there's a vehicle in your left or right blind spot. A couple other nice touches on the SX model will come down to the door handles. So we have a beautiful mix of that satin metal again, and integrated digital key. So the previous trim levels will have a button over here. This vehicle just has an indent on the handle. Essentially, it works the same way, so as long as the key is somewhere on me, it could be in my pocket or in my bag, I can walk up to the car, put my hand behind the handle, and then it'll unlock the driver or passenger side, whichever side I'm going to. Once I'm done driving, I can simply press on the handle again to lock it, and then do whatever I need to do. You also get the digital key function though, which allows you to start, drive, and unlock your vehicle with your phone, which is completely up to you if you want to use it, but super handy to have. Up at the top, we got true crossover style with our roof rails, so they are a nice flush style with a beautiful gloss black finish. Gives a little bit more design to the vehicle, which I personally love, and matches very nicely with the satin we see on the door handles. Along the bottom of the vehicle, you'll also notice a little bit more of that gloss black flare on your doors. And there is an option for the SX trim level if you'd like to get a steel gray Aeroblade pillar. This vehicle is outfitted with snow white pearl for everything, so everything's color matched. But I'll talk about this pillar real quick. It may not look like it, and I'm not even sure if we can get the angle, but it's not just a widened out flare, it's actually a true Aeroblade. So air will channel through this here to give this vehicle a little bit more aerodynamics and of course efficiency. So I've spoken so much about the efficiency of this vehicle, but what does it really look like? This vehicle is rated for 4.8 liters per 100 kilometers combined. Combined, you guys, so that's city and that's highway. Hybrids do especially well in the city where regular gas vehicles are going to do their worst, because a lot of the times when you're in stop and go situations or constantly being at traffic lights, this vehicle will sit at idle in EV mode. So you're not actually running your gas engine to go nowhere. Super, super efficient at the end of the day. And this vehicle also has recognized green zones. Michael, do you know what a green zone is?
I do not know.
Well, let me tell you, essentially this vehicle will know if there's any certain areas, let's say your residential neighborhood or hospitals, school zones, that kind of thing, and it'll make itself be in EV mode so you're not idling or letting out emissions in those areas. So it's a very smart car. All right, back end of the vehicle, you'll notice we got our traditional rear wiper mounted onto the rear glass, beautiful taillights, which I will turn on the vehicle to show you guys in full detail. They will be LEDs. All right, let's get it on again. Lights on, Michael?
Yep.
There we go. So your high-mounted stop lamp, I always say stomp, as well as your taillights. All right, and I'll turn the vehicle off so we don't kill the battery. For your fuel tank, it is a 52-liter tank, so a fairly smaller tank. Sorry, no, it's 42-liter tank. What am I talking about? 42-liter tank, so it's a fairly small tank, and it's just regular unleaded fuel for this vehicle. What does that mean? Well, that means this vehicle on a full tank can get 761 kilometers of range, as I saw in our gauge cluster over there, on a small tank. So this is smaller than the Kia Forte's tank. It's smaller than the Hyundai Elantras. That makes this vehicle very affordable to fill up. You're probably looking at around the $60 range if you're in Southern Ontario like we are, and you can drive a lot further than you could on one of those gas vehicles. So further, for less money, sign me up, you guys. All right, let's take a look at the driver's seat before I actually hop in. Of course, when you're looking at the SX trim level, you can expect a couple of extra luxe touches. So we have a beautiful leatherette seating material, lots of padding and just comfort on the seats themselves. Both the driver and passenger seat is going to be not only heated, but also ventilated. 3 different levels of temperature control for either or. And you get power seats for both driver and passenger. I apologize, the interior isn't as clean as we would like to show. This vehicle is a fairly new arrival and there's still a little bit of stickers along the bottom, but just ignore that. We'll talk about the good things. Right over here, we have our power controls for the driver's seat. So of course you have your height adjustment as well as the angle of recline, your backrest, and then lumbar support. The best part is these seats are actually memory seats. So if you frequently share your vehicle with another member of your household or whatever the case may be, even if you go to take your vehicle to get serviced, the mechanic moves the seat and you hate that, it's okay, you got memory seats, it'll be saved. And it's not just the seat that's going to be saved, it'll also be your mirrors. As you can see, we have 2 buttons there to save your controls to your preferred settings, and then we have all of our mirror controls and window controls here. Express windows for driver and passenger, and regular powered windows for the windows in the back. Another thing you get in this vehicle that makes it very premium inside is going to be the Harman Kardon sound system. So a full premium sound with a lot of customization options. So if you'd like to go in and change your bass, treble, whatever it may be, you can custom your vehicle to your preferred settings. There's a couple more things I want to show on this side of the driver's side, the most important side, before we hop into the passenger seat. That's going to be the brightness adjustment setting here. So because you have 2 10.25-inch displays on this vehicle, things can get pretty bright or pretty dim. I love how you can adjust it without actually going into any menus on the screen. So while you're driving, you can make quick changes and it's not going to kind of mess up with your driving. You also have a button for your power lift gate. Now this vehicle does have a power lift. I will show you guys towards the end of the video. We're not kind of doing our normal routine here. And a 12-volt battery reset with our traction control. The pedals as well also have a premium material. So these are what we typically call our aluminum sport pedals, but seeing it on the hybrid is always quite nice. Just a lot of more premium finishes. While we're here, we might as well open up the back and then I'll have Michael come along to the passenger side. All right, you ready, Mike?
Mm-hmm.
Just got to turn it on real quick. Oh, go to the back, Mike. I'll meet you there. So, I don't know if you guys caught that, but we have a power lift on this vehicle. You can adjust the height as well too, so if this is a bit too high for you or your space, maybe your garage has lower clearance, you can adjust it to your preferred setting by manually moving it and pressing and holding this button. As far as space goes, we have just under 650 liters of cargo room behind the rear seats, and it does drop down. So this little floorboard here can actually sit flush above here to give you a couple extra inches of space. You'll also notice that we do have a tire mobility kit in place of a regular spare tire. This will essentially get you back on the road and driving if you experience a flat much quicker and you don't have to change the tire yourself. There's an LED light just on the right-hand side to light up the cabin, the cargo area, and each of the rear seats does have car seat anchors and tethers. All right, Mike, shall we hop in?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we'll turn off the engine. So you guys may have heard the engine turn over. The vehicle was in EV mode for a while, and then it turned on the engine. Essentially what a hybrid does is, and where it gets a little bit confusing for new hybrid drivers, the vehicle will distinguish whether it can operate in EV only mode or if it needs some engine help. So typical driving, of course this is a regular hybrid, not a plug-in hybrid or a full EV, you are going to use that engine, but when you're coasting or just sitting at an idle, it's in EV mode. And the vehicle does it all by itself, so it's not any buttons that you have to press or any mode you have to put the car in, it'll decide on its own. You also don't have to plug in this kind of hybrid. It's not a PHEV, so you never have to worry about charging stations or stopping for charging. It's simply gas that goes into this car. All right, steering wheel. Let me grab that from you, Mike. Make things a little bit easier. For our steering wheel, you can see it's a pretty funky design. It is fully heated and leather wrapped, so no matter how you like to drive, your hands will be nice and warm. You do have paddle shifters here as well too that can manipulate your gears or your level of regen, depending on your drive mode. The left-hand side is where you'll find some of your driver controls. So this will be your smart cruise control. You'll set your speed here and then set your following distance with this button. On the right, you'll notice we have a button for our lane following assist to turn it on or off. Drive mode select is right over here. So you give this a press and it will allow you to cycle between eco mode and sport mode, each of which will change the way the vehicle is operating. So sport mode will kind of give you the illusion of more power. It certainly doesn't add horsepower, but it'll allow the vehicle to ride its gear a little bit longer to get you that full power band. That will also in turn consume a bit more fuel. Eco mode, on the other hand, will shift gears a bit quicker just to maintain it always in its most efficient gear based off your driving. And it will prioritize saving fuel. It'll also kind of dig into EV mode a little bit more. The right-hand side, you'll find media controls and just your general convenience. So voice commands, volume, a button to pick up the phone, and a favorites button that you can preset to do whatever you'd like. Now, I'm just gonna try to, Michael, it might be a little bit hard, but this is our gauge cluster. The gauge cluster is 10¼ inches, fully digitized, of course, so all of your relevant information is easy to view. And the steering wheel has quite a big viewpoint as well too, so nothing's really in the way that could obstruct you as a driver. You have a digitized speedometer and digitized tachometer, which let me get the vehicle back on. Of course, with their hybrids, we do have to dig into the 12-volt battery reset button because it doesn't allow you to run it in accessory mode too long, but we'll see. So digitized tachometer, except it's not a traditional tachometer. It's more of an EV power band. So it'll show you when you're in your most efficient method versus when you're digging into a bit more power. On the bottom, you'll see your distance to empty, as well as your fuel rating, fuel gauge. I'm gonna turn the car fully on so we don't kill the battery. And the engine might turn over, but we'll try to do this a bit quicker to avoid that. All right, for your center display, it's again another 10¼ inch touchscreen. This will allow you to set driver profiles. You have in-house navigation, and for the CarPlay and Android Auto, it is wired, but let me tell you about wired. It's gonna have a much stronger connection. You won't experience any drops in connection as well. So if you are someone who, when you shift between songs, you hate that little pause that wireless does, this won't have it. For fuel efficiency, you do have a hybrid menu that shows you where the energy is flowing from. So when I turn this vehicle on, it's currently fully on, ready to drive, and it's only digging power from the battery itself. So the engine is not kicking on. Now, if I give it gas, which I probably won't because we're inside, it will prioritize there we go. It's gonna draw power from the engine, and you can see that the engine has now turned on and it's illuminated in yellow. This menu is actually quite nice to look at while you're driving because you can see what's happening in your vehicle without actually really being a mechanic, which is pretty nice. I always like showing our EV or HEV customers this, and it'll also tell you when you're putting charge back into the vehicle as well too, when you're coasting or braking. Underneath that, we do have our temperature control. So you can see we got our dials to adjust. Automated climate, you can set the intensity, and it is dual zone climate control, so driver and passenger can have separate climate control functions. Below that, we have a USB, USB-C, and a wireless phone charger, a nice push to start ignition with a traditional style gear shift. Over here, we have all of our convenience controls for the heated seats, ventilated seats, heated steering wheel, auto hold, and then our electronic parking brake. In the very center, you have a wide open space for your drinks. The cup holders are the retractable style, so if you don't have any cups in here and you really would just rather have as much space as possible, you can fold them back into their position and then pop them out whenever you need them. The actual covered center console is fairly small, but it does have this detachable kind of divider that you can either put in or take out. You'll notice when this is down, everything is completely covered, completely concealed. All right, Mike, do you want to show the glove box? Perfect.
This one's very cool. It always comes with that little
kind of the suede jacket. Right above the glove box, you may also notice there was a little bit of ambient lighting. It's since turned off, but you can change that. So whatever your preferred color is, you can make that there. All right up at the top, we have our nice wide style sunroof. It's okay, Michael, don't worry about it. We have our wide sunroof. It is powered, of course, so you can open it, close it, have it tilted, whatever you'd like, or close it and never have to look at it. The headliner is also a nice light gray, so it definitely opens up the cabin a bit, giving the illusion of more space. But in terms of space, this vehicle is not confined, even though it is considered a compact. There is a very, very nice amount of headroom, elbow room, shoulder room, I should say, elbow room too. And the driver's seat is very comfortable. I will point this out. I didn't say it when I was showing the controls here, but everything's kind of tilted towards the driver, so everything is in view. Whenever you need to make a change or do something, there shouldn't be any glare or any obstructions based off whatever you need to do. And a lot of the things on this vehicle are going to be actual buttons, so you never really have to go through your screen to make changes that should be simple, you know what I mean? All right, I might just talk about your controls, Michael. So I did already mention that heated and ventilated seats are for both seats up at the front, but there's the passenger's controls, as well as a button to turn on or off your parking sensors and turn on your park view camera. All right, Michael, do you want to hop into the back now? Okay.
Need the Gabi measurements.
Yes, the official Gabi measurements. This review is definitely a little bit all over the place. I feel like I'm losing it a bit, but that's the beauty of a live stream, I guess. Now, when it comes to your rear seats, you'll notice the seats themselves are extremely wide. So the two main seats, you have so much space, and they are going to be heated with 2 different levels for each individual seat. The seat in the middle, however, it's a little bit more tight, but that's okay. Depending on who you're sitting next to, maybe they'll let you, put a leg on each side, that kind of thing. It's still a very comfortable cabin. You'll notice even in the most confined seat, I have a good amount of distance from my knees and the vehicle ahead of me. There's also the added convenience of rear ventilation, so you have vents back here, as well as USB-Cs built into the backs of the seats ahead of you. So one for each passenger, except the middle passenger. They don't get one. We also have integrated storage pockets. These are the plastic style, so super easy to wipe down and you don't have to worry about them ripping. And then up at the top, this may look like a really weird headrest, but it's actually a hanger. So you can use this for your jacket, for your bag, whatever you'd like. It's a great space saver, and it saves you from buying those Amazon ones that clip on and just don't look as good and rattle when you drive. This is all built into the car. So convenient, so nice to have. The interior lighting is also full LEDs, so everything is very nice and bright. It never does it justice on our camera, but at nighttime, you can really find anything. If you drop a fry, you will find it. All right. Also, if you'd like to detail your car, great thing to have integrated. A lot of people buy those LED light bars that just kind of ride on the headliner. You got it built in, kind of. All right. Here we have our center console storage. So if no one's sitting over here, you can drop this down, use it as a cup holder, armrest, whatever you'd like. It's all pretty standard. Standard, but super comfortable, and in this trim level, very refined from what we see on some of the other models. So again, if you are someone who really prioritizes the more luxe things in life and the most tech, this is definitely the trim level to get. Now I will talk about some of the cons of the SX model, and there's really only one, but let's head back to the main table to talk about that. Michael, do you know what the con is of getting the top trim level for the Kia Niro?
I do not.
Well, number one, it is going to be more expensive, but that's obviously pretty standard. You probably know that getting into it. But it's also a little bit, a teensy bit less efficient. And I'll give you the exact specs of how less efficient in a second. This vehicle, I told you guys earlier, it's rated at 4.8 liters per 100 kilometers. Now the other trim levels are rated at 4.4. Why the difference, even though it's a subtle difference? It's the wheels. So this vehicle has those 18-inch alloys that are larger than the other options on the EX model, the LX model. That will, of course, dig into a little bit of your fuel efficiency, but it's pretty marginal. And if you really love the tech that the SX gets, that's something that a lot of people, I think, can live with. What do you think?
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
That's okay. Hopefully you guys are paying attention. Let me know what you think. Would you take that 0.4 difference for a vehicle with a little bit more tech and a couple more things going for it? Or is that a non-negotiable? You need all the efficiency. All right, so Gabi said wheels over range. Gabi, I like your style. And I like your name. How did she do a whole review without a drink of water? Not easily. I'm actually struggling, and maybe I'll take a drink right now. Thank you, guys. Can you use the wireless Bluetooth? So yeah, Bluetooth is often wireless, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So this vehicle does have standard Bluetooth connection. That means if you want to listen to audio from whatever device you have, iPod, your phone, you can stream it via Bluetooth, but you also have the option to plug it in and use Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, which I think takes it a step further. The audio quality will be a bit more crisp, and then you'll also have the benefits of your navigation from your phone and all of your other apps that work with the car. So I know Google Maps, Waze works, podcasts, of course, Spotify, Apple Music. I think even Microsoft Teams works. Now you can't actually video call, but you can do your audio calls through the vehicle, which is pretty handy. And then if you are opting for an EV instead, all of your EV charging apps typically work as well too. Water. Okay. Does the 18-inch wheels decrease literage? Yes. So I did talk about that just a few minutes ago. The larger wheels will dig into your consumption a bit, but it's pretty marginal. What is the miles per gallon? I don't know our American specs, you guys. We are based in Ontario, Canada, so we go through liters per 100 kilometers, and it's 4.8 liters per 100 kilometers. So if you guys would like to do the conversion, or maybe I'll just Google it real quick.
Nero?
Michael, you're quicker than me. Google it,
No.
Google it. What else? So I talked about the horsepower and the torque. So it's 139 horsepower with 195 pound-feet of torque. I don't know if I actually said the torque earlier, but that's what it is. Of course, when you're opting for a hybrid, especially if you're maybe test driving a Kia K4 and then right after driving this, you'll notice this is a lot more torquey. That's because of the electric motor. So especially at low speeds, it's really gonna go. It's something that takes a little bit of getting used to, but it's also a really nice feeling, having a vehicle with good power. And 5.3 miles per gallon. Wait, I think it said in the city. 5.3 miles per gallon in the city and 5.4 miles per gallon on the highway. So that's pretty awesome. That's really good, actually.
I do not know.
Go Google. I'll go back to the questions, see what else you guys would like to know. Someone said that's not right. Can't be right. No, it is. That it is.
Yeah, that's what it's showing.
Yeah, Kia Niro Hybrid. I guess it's just that good. Is it still considered instant torque as a hybrid? Like, do they give you the power output without the battery? So it's not going to be as instant as, say, a full EV, but it's still fairly torquey in comparison to a regular gasoline vehicle. Because all of that acceleration is, obviously, some of it's coming from the gas engine, but it's also supplemented by the electric motor. A Lambo does 5 miles per gallon. That's why this...
It's miles per gallon.
Guys, that's why I got the Kia Niro instead of the Lamborghini Huracan. It's just, it made more sense. So I don't know if you guys knew this, but the Porsche 918 is a hybrid. It's actually a plug-in hybrid. I think it only has about 13 kilometers of range, though, on a full charge. When you opt for the Kia Niro Hybrid, however, you get about 55. So that's already a huge win. I don't even know why people are buying the Porsche 918 when something like the Kia Niro exists.
Yeah, I
Right?
can agree more.
I just don't understand.
You can buy how many Neros for a price
Yeah,
of one of them?
plus I don't think the 918 goes for sale under $1 million. You could have a fleet of Kia Niros for that. All right. How do I get into my car if my key fob battery dies? Let me show you. So I believe the key is in the vehicle, but that's okay. You'll notice that a lot of our more modern cars don't actually have a key slot here. Some older cars, you could see it physically there. However, if you look underneath, there's a little inlet there. Essentially, you just pull the mechanical key out of your key fob, which if you didn't know that existed, it does. Here. So here's our mechanical key or physical key. If you have this style key, there will be a little inlet there. And hopefully I get this without struggling or breaking a nail. Oh, it's gonna be a struggle, you guys. There we go. Here's your physical key. So that is tucked away within the fob. You pop this into there. This will come off, and then you can actually turn key to unlock your vehicle. Then you hop in, and then you put the key back inside, and then you touch the fob to the start button, and then your car will start. So that's what to do if your vehicle's battery ever dies and you can't get in, or if the key fob battery ever dies. And I have done a video on that, full in-depth, actually getting into it. I'm not gonna do that now because it will cause the panic alarm to go off, and we are inside the dealership, there's people working here. They'll get freaked out if the horns go off. All right, any other questions, Michael, that you see?
No, it's blank right now.
Okay, awesome. So good to see. Oh, I didn't realize I'm on camera. All right. What's the difference between this and the EX model? So the EX is one up from the entry level here in Canada. This is where you'll find things like the premium sound system, the advanced forward collision avoidance, the smart cruise control, the larger screen for your digital speedometer, like the fully digital gauge cluster, as well as some of the more premium accents like the sunroof. The EX still gives you the same powertrain, so if you're looking for efficiency, the EX is more so the way to go because number one, it's going to be more cost effective to purchase. It has a lower MSRP, but it'll also give you slightly better range, rated at 4.4 liters per 100 kilometers. So bit of a win, but again, if you are someone who's very tech forward and tech focused, you may want to opt for the SX model because it'll give you all the bells and whistles, and the range is still extremely good. Okay. I think that's probably it for today's video. Again, this was a bit of a longer one. We're at 30 minutes. Got to find a way to make these shorter. But you guys asked great questions, and I hope you learned something in today's video. Michael, anything you want to add?
I did learn a lot of things today.
Awesome. All right, take care. Be sure to join us tomorrow at 2 p.m. where we will be reviewing a live Hyundai product. And of course, we hope to see you again. Bye, you guys.
Bye.
And leave a like if you're on. I can't.